Midnight is not the end, it is the threshold of a new beginning. Though the hour may seem bleak, though the darkness may press heavy on the soul, we must not confuse the absence of light with the absence of hope. For midnight, though cold and quiet, is also the turning point of time. It marks not the conclusion of the story, but the moment when a new chapter is ready to be written. It is not the grave, it is the womb. Something is being born in the shadows, something stirring in the silence, and those who have eyes to see and hearts to believe know that what feels like an ending may well be the birth of transformation. There are times in life when everything around us seems to whisper that the journey is over, when dreams lie shattered, when doors close, when even the courage to believe begins to flicker. These are the midnight hours. And yet, it is in these very moments that something eternal calls to us, a still, small voice reminding us that dawn is not a matter of circumstance, but of perspective, that time moves forward no matter how long the night may feel, that within every hardship lies hidden the seed of a breakthrough. Midnight is not the final word. It is the first breath of a new possibility. Too many retreat at midnight. Too many give up when the hour is darkest, mistaking stillness for defeat. But history has always belonged to those who stayed awake through the night, to those who believed in the unseen, to those who trusted that change often comes dressed in discomfort, and progress often wears the garments of pain. The threshold is narrow, yes. The air is cold, yes. But those who dare to keep walking through the midnight will find that something sacred happens in that passage, a kind of inner rebirth, a renewal of vision, a baptism in fire. Midnight is the hour that tests us, but it is also the hour that teaches us. It teaches us to rely not on sight, but on faith. It teaches us to trust the unseen hand that guides us forward. It teaches us that character is not built in the sunlight, but in the shadow, where we must choose integrity without applause, strength without certainty, love without validation. Midnight peels away the illusions and shows us who we truly are. And it is from that deep place of honesty and humility that greatness is born. There is something paradoxically powerful about midnight. It is quiet, yet it speaks. It is still, yet it moves us. It strips us down, yet builds us up. And those who learn to see midnight not as a wall, but as a doorway, are the ones who rise not by avoiding the dark, but by walking through it with dignity, with courage, with fire in their soul. The threshold is there, waiting. The clock has struck 12, the old has passed, the new has not yet arrived, and in that sacred in-between we are given a choice to retreat into fear or to rise into faith. When the world grows darkest, our light must shine the brightest. It is easy to radiate hope when skies are clear and the path ahead is certain. But the true test of our spirit comes not in comfort, but in crisis. When fear spreads like wildfire, when injustice screams louder than truth, when despair wraps itself around entire communities, it is then, precisely then, that our light is needed most. Not a flickering candle of comfort, but a blazing torch of courage. For light has never been about avoiding darkness. It is about confronting it and refusing to let it win. There comes a moment in every life and in every generation when the shadows grow long and the way forward seems lost. In those moments it is tempting to hide, to turn down the volume of our voice, to dim the radiance of our convictions. But history has shown us that every meaningful movement, every revolution of the heart or of society, began when someone dared to shine in the dark. They spoke when silence was safer. They stood when sitting was expected. They reached out when fear demanded they withdraw. Their light did not come from perfection, but from persistence, from an unshakable belief that what is good and just and true must be brought into the open, no matter the cost. Darkness is never passive. It spreads, it seeps into systems, minds, and souls. But light resists, light interrupts, light says, not here, not now, not this time. And it is you, it is me, it is all of us who carry that light. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a quiet act of kindness when cruelty would be easier. Sometimes it is choosing to forgive when bitterness feels more justified. Sometimes it is raising your voice when others are too afraid to speak. Whatever the form, light always disrupts, and disruption is the seed of transformation. But make no mistake, shining in darkness takes strength. It takes clarity. It takes a kind of soul resilience that cannot be bought, only built. And it is built through hardship, through trial, through midnight moments when you wanted to quit, but didn't, through heartbreaks that should have shattered you, but instead shaped you. Every scar, every tear, every setback becomes fuel for the fire that now burns in your spirit. You shine not because life was easy, but because you refused to let it break you. Let the world grow dark, let the noise rise and the shadows fall. Still we shine, not to be seen, but to see, not to impress, but to illuminate. Our light does not depend on circumstance, it is who we are. A people forged in struggle, molded by pain, yet moved by vision. We are not here to merely exist in the darkness. We are here to challenge it, to change it, to chase it out with the brilliance of unwavering hope, unrelenting love, and unbreakable faith. The knock you hear in crisis is destiny calling you to rise. It does not come at a convenient hour. It does not wait until you feel ready. It arrives when the storm is raging, when your knees are trembling, when the ground beneath you feels uncertain, and yet it knocks persistent, undeniable, demanding to be heard. That knock is not there to frighten you, but to awaken you. It is not a warning of doom, but a whisper of purpose. In the stillness of your greatest trials, when everything seems to be falling apart, something sacred is calling you to rise above what you thought was your limit. Crisis is the great revealer. It exposes what is weak, but it also uncovers what is strong. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the illusions of comfort, and it forces you to listen deeply. That knock you hear, that's the voice of your own potential, long buried under fear and self-doubt, begging to be released. It is destiny, not waiting for the perfect moment, but demanding your courage in the imperfect one. Because greatness is not born in calm waters, it is forged in the fire. You were not made for silence. You were made to respond. So many people run from the knock. They ignore it. They deny it. They convince themselves they are too small, too broken, too late. But destiny does not knock on accident. It does not choose the already finished, the already polished, the already qualified. It chooses the willing, the wounded, the ones who have seen midnight and still dare to believe in morning. The knock is not about who you are right now, it is about who you're becoming. It is an invitation to evolve, to stretch, to step into something larger than yourself. That knock may come in the form of adversity, a loss, a betrayal, a breakdown. It may come through unexpected changes, through seasons of silence and solitude. But every time it shows up, it carries a question. Will you answer? Will you rise? Will you let this crisis define you? Or will you define yourself in spite of it? For within every crisis is a crossroads, and at that crossroads you are offered a decision to shrink back into safety or to rise into significance. You don't need to have all the answers to answer the call. You don't need certainty to take the first step. All you need is the courage to say yes, yes to the unknown, yes to the discomfort, yes to the process, because the moment you open that door, the moment you respond to the knock, something begins to shift. Strength you didn't know you had begins to surface. Vision begins to form where once there was only confusion, and what once looked like a breakdown becomes the very breakthrough that launches you forward. Destiny is patient, but it is also persistent. It does not force its way in, but it will keep knocking until you realize that the crisis was never meant to crush you, it was meant to call you, to stir your soul, to push you past your limits and into your purpose. Faith is answering the door even when fear tells you to hide. It is the quiet defiance of doubt, the bold refusal to be ruled by uncertainty. Fear will always shout louder. It will give you 100 reasons to wait, 1,000 excuses to retreat, and 1,000,000 whispers convincing you that you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. But faith does not wait for clarity, it moves in the fog. It steps forward even when the path is invisible. It answers the door not because it knows what lies on the other side, but because it trusts that something greater is waiting to meet it there. In life, fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells us to be careful, to be practical, to be safe. And while wisdom is necessary, there is a difference between caution and paralysis, between discernment and avoidance. Too many people stand behind closed doors, their potential locked inside, waiting for a moment that may never come. They pray for open doors but refuse to turn the knob. They speak of hope but live in hesitation. But faith is not passive. Faith knocks back. Faith answers with trembling hands and a determined heart. It moves not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The truth is, every great journey begins with a single yes, a yes that doesn't make sense on paper, a yes that disrupts comfort, a yes that flies in the face of fear. That kind of yes only comes from faith, faith in something unseen, something higher, something within. Faith that believes there's purpose in the process, even when the process is painful. Faith that trusts the voice calling you is not trying to harm you, but to heal you, to grow you, to guide you into the fullness of who you were meant to be. You don't have to feel fearless to have faith. In fact, it's often in the presence of fear that faith becomes real, because it's one thing to believe when everything is working, but true faith is forged in the fire. It is proven when nothing makes sense, and yet you still choose to rise, still choose to walk, still choose to open the door. You may not know what's waiting for you, but faith says go anyway. Faith whispers you were made for more. Faith says even if you fall, you'll rise stronger. Faith reminds you that your story is still being written, and the next chapter begins when you answer. There will always be reasons to stay, hidden wounds from the past, fear of rejection, the weight of failure, but faith doesn't erase your scars, it redeems them. It says, bring them with you, let them become your testimony. You don't need to be perfect to answer the knock. You just need to be willing to risk, willing to grow, willing to believe that the knock is not your enemy, it's your invitation. An invitation to step beyond what you've known, to leave behind the prison of fear, and to trust that there's more ahead than what you're leaving behind. Silence in the face of midnight is surrender, but action is salvation. When the world is cloaked in darkness, when injustice echoes through empty streets and confusion paralyzes the hearts of many, it is easy to go quiet, easy to tell yourself that your voice won't matter, that your steps won't make a difference, that someone else will stand, someone else will speak, someone else will rise. But midnight does not wait for someone else. It demands response, it demands courage, it demands movement. To stay silent is to allow the shadows to thicken, but to act, to move even one step forward, is to break the grip of despair and to declare that the night will not have the final word. Midnight is not just the absence of light, it is the presence of pressure, of fear, of waiting, and in that pressure many lose their voice, but silence, though it feels safe, slowly becomes agreement. It becomes complicity with the very forces that seek to diminish your light. When your heart is stirred, when your spirit feels the weight of injustice, when your soul knows that something must change, that is not the time to close your mouth. That is the moment to step forward. That is the moment to act, even if your hands tremble and your knees shake, because the ones who dare to act in the dark become the ones who lead others toward the dawn. We often believe that action must be grand to be meaningful, that only bold, sweeping gestures change the world. But salvation begins with a single step. It begins when one person says, "Not today." It begins when one soul refuses to let fear have the final say. That one act, a word, a stand, a decision to love begins a ripple that spreads through midnight like light breaking through cracks. The smallest spark can ignite a blaze when it is lit with purpose. You do not need to change everything, you need to change something. You do not need all the answers, you just need to say yes to the call inside you. There will be voices that tell you to wait, that it's not your place, that it's too risky, too late, too much. But silence has never healed a wound. Inaction has never lifted the broken. What transforms midnight into morning is movement, the kind that rises not out of perfection, but out of conviction. The kind that does not wait for applause, but moves because the heart can no longer sit still. You were not created to hide your light under fear. You were born to disturb the darkness. Every moment of injustice, every heartbreak, every crisis is an opportunity not just to feel, but to act. To respond with intention, to take the pain and turn it into purpose. You are not powerless at midnight. You are not voiceless. You are not invisible. Your action, no matter how small, becomes a declaration that hope still lives, that love still moves, that truth still speaks. In a world that teaches you to be silent, your decision to act becomes a form of resistance, a weapon of light, a pathway to redemption. We are not prisoners of the night, but pioneers of the dawn. Though the darkness may seem endless, though the shadows may loom large over our hopes and dreams, we must never forget that night is not a sentence, it is a season, and every season has a turning point. Every night gives way to morning, not by accident, but because of the unshakable rhythm of hope. We are not meant to remain bound by fear, confined by failure, or shackled by the weight of what went wrong. We are called to rise, to walk, to lead others out of the night and into the light of a new day. The world may try to convince us that we are powerless, that we are victims of circumstance, that our past determines our path. But inside each of us is a spark, the will to move, to rebuild, to begin again. That spark is the seed of dawn. It is the whisper that says, "This is not how your story ends." It is the vision that sees beyond the chaos and believes in what could be. Pioneers are not those who ignore the darkness. They are those who walk through it with purpose. They are those who, though afraid, keep pressing forward because they believe in something brighter than what they see. To be a pioneer of the dawn is to walk with vision when others are blind with despair. It is to hold the torch of hope even when the wind threatens to blow it out. It is to stand firm when the ground trembles beneath you. It is to understand that the dawn is not given, it is created by those who dare to believe, even in the silence, even in the sorrow. The night is long, yes, but it is not eternal, and those who rise in the middle of it are the ones who shape what comes after it. Being a pioneer means carrying the weight of others' fears while nurturing your own courage. It means seeing not just the problem, but the possibility. It means breaking through barriers, not because they are easy to break, but because they must be broken. It means lifting others when you feel weak, leading when you're unsure, loving when it hurts. The pioneers of the dawn are not perfect people, they are persistent ones. They are the ones who have every reason to quit, but choose to continue. They are the ones who light candles in the storm, who build bridges over broken places, who sing songs of freedom while still walking through chains. The night may be filled with noise, confusion, and uncertainty, but pioneers listen for the heartbeat of hope. They do not wait for others to show them the way, they become the way. They do not dwell in what was, they invest in what can be. And though they may stumble, they never stay down, they rise again, because they know their journey matters. They know that someone, somewhere, is watching, waiting, hoping that just one person will show them that the dawn is possible, that the light is real, that the breakthrough is near.